So the most premium Honor smartphone you can grab right now is this shiny slab right here, the Honor 20 Pro. This Wii rapscallion boasts similar specs to the premium and considerably more pricey Huawei P30 Pro, including a quad-lens rear camera and that same beefy Kirin chipset for speedy performance no matter what you throw its way. And while the global launch of the Huawei 20 series was somewhat blighted by President Trump's rather bizarre shindiggery, that particular bad smell has thankfully mostly been wafted away by now. So at last we can actually shelve all of that politics and actually appreciate the Huawei 20 Pro for its slick hardware and satisfying software. I actually originally reviewed the Honor 20 Pro back when it originally launched in May time, but it's finally hit the UK for the princely sum of £549, so I thought I'd slip my SIM back inside and see if it's still worth a punt. After all, 2 months is actually a surprisingly long time in the world of mobile tech. So here is my full Honor 20 Pro re-review, and for more on the latest and greatest mobile tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now first up, as far as the aesthetics go, sure, this phone isn't exactly revolutionary. The Pro shares most of its DNA with its Honor siblings, with a close to full view finish up front and a suitably shiny rear end. That said, both the Phantom Black and this here Phantom Blue model are actually rather fetching and also considerably darker than the usual super bright punchy hyper handsets that we usually get from Honor, although sadly there's no sort of striking visual pattern effect like we got from the likes of the Honor V20. I'll still get a bit of an iPhone XS vibe from the Honor 20 Pro thanks to that chunky build, although at least it's not as hefty as quite a lot of handsets that I've fondled recently, and it is reassuringly rugged as well. That glass back end has slammed down onto a hard floor from close to a metre, and there is still not a single blemish, while the pre-installed screen protector has soaked up any scratches and scuffs on the other side. And despite the lack of dedicated water resistance, the Honor 20 Pro is certainly not bothered by a bit of rain. Now earlier this year I've reviewed Samsung's Galaxy S10e and also Sony's Xperia 1 flagship phone, both of which sported an edge-mounted fingerprint sensor, something which the Honor 20 Pro kind of copies. However, of the three sensors, I actually definitely prefer the Honor 20 Pros. For one, it's not stuck away at the very top end of the phone, so it's actually comfy to use, and it also doubles as the power button as well, so you can either tap your digit to instantly wake the phone or give it a bit of a poke to activate the face recognition. And that facial unlock does work a treat when your fingers are a sticky mess, although sunglasses are unfortunately its nemesis. Now the Honor 20 Pro's 6.26-inch IPS screen is rather limited compared with many AMOLED rivals around this price point. The contrast isn't as sharp, those blacks aren't quite as black, and the lack of OLED tech means you can't enjoy features like an always-on display. But all the same, most people should be perfectly happy with the punchy, crisp visuals pumped out by the Pro. The Full HD Plus resolution keeps text and images sharp, while boosting the brightness means that you won't be squinting on a sunny day. It's powerful enough to cut through any glare and reflections, no bother. And although the Honor 20 Pro doesn't quite offer a full view experience thanks to that dinky pinhole camera, the far corner placement means that it doesn't really intrude either. Unfortunately, on the audio front there is no stereo speaker setup, and you won't find a 3.5mm audio port on this thing either, so you will have to go Bluetooth or use a dongle. But at least if you do go Bluetooth, you will get a nice bit of virtual 9.1 surround sound support still, so that's nice. If you prefer to carry around your movies and music instead of streaming them on the go, then no worries. You get 128 gigs of storage space with this base model, and you can upgrade to double of that if you really want. There's no microSD memory card support sadly, but chances are you'll never run out of space unless you really do hoard an awful lot of 4K home movies. Now on the performance and battery life front, there's not much difference between this Honor 20 Pro model and the standard Honor 20. They both sport Huawei's Kirin 980 chipset, which is about to be succeeded by the fresh new Kirin 985, but still proves well up to the task of gaming and anything else that you throw its way. And with Huawei's GPU Turbo 3.0 on board, you'll enjoy particularly smooth frame rates on a couple of dozen supported titles, including good old PUBG Mobile. A mighty 4000 mAh battery also means stress-free all-day use. I always had at least 20% life remaining at the end of a very busy day, while more restrained users will make it through 2 full days before a fresh charge is needed. And while the 22.5 watt fast charge can't quite match the likes of Huawei's more premium smartphones, it's still perfectly fine for giving you a few hours of use from just 10 minutes at the plug. As for the software, well, Honor's Magic UI launcher holds no real surprises. This is essentially the same software found on the View 20 and Huawei's Emotion UI by just another name. That means plenty of customization options and a fair few bonus features such as a nifty one-handed mode that really add to the overall Android experience. And there's no real sacrifices here, such as the culling of the apps tray like you'll get on some rivals such as Xiaomi's MIUI. Personally, I'm definitely a fan, although anyone after a more stock Android experience will probably prefer something like the Zenfone 6 instead. For a closer look at Magic UI and all of its frills and fanciness, go check out my full Magic UI tips and tricks guide available right now. With any luck, there's one of those link thingamy-jiggers floating up there above my baldy head right now. Now, one of the big differences between the standard Honor 20 and the snazzy Pro model is the camera slapped on the back. You once again have 4 lenses, including a 48 megapixel primary shooter sat alongside a 16 megapixel super wide angle lens and a 2 megapixel macro camera for extreme close-ups. And here on the Pro you also get a telephoto lens with 3 times optical zoom for snooping from afar. What that basically means is you get one of the most impressive and flexible camera setups on any smartphone around this price point. It's your choice whether to activate the AI mode or not. Leave it off and you'll get more natural results, while flicking it on means you get a colour boost in certain conditions, although nothing on the scale of previous Honor efforts from a few months back, thankfully. That ultra-wide angle lens works as expected, offering a very different view of the world, handy for those tricky tourist shots. And as for the telephoto lens, well, it isn't quite as impressive as the crazy 5 times optical zoom of the Huawei P30 Pro, of course, and it does occasionally stumble a bit in low light, but it definitely can be very useful when trying to shoot your kids or cats or whatever without being too intrusive, or again for those essential tourist snaps. Last up, that macro lens is a bit tricky to use. To get a sharp shot, you'll basically need to hold the Honor 20 Pro a very precise distance from your subject. But if you nail it and your hand is steady enough, then the results can be impressive. Stick with the primary shooter and you'll capture detail-rich images even in tricky lighting conditions. And when things get proper dark, that night mode helps to brighten things up without overexposing the final shot. This Pro model can also double the ISO level of the standard Honor 20 for impressive results in almost complete darkness, like this shot here that I took using the Pro mode. No problems on the video front either. My 4K footage looked crisp, vibrant and absolutely lovely when beamed up to a telly. Audio pickup is strong without being overly sensitive, and the image stabilization is pretty damn good too. Switch to the front and that 32 megapixel selfie cam also gets a thumbs up, again handling strong contrast without any stress, although the portrait mode can get a wee bit confused about what's actually part of your body when it's working on that bokeh effect. So now that the Honor 20 Pro is finally hitting the UK and the future seems a bit brighter for Huawei and Honor in general, is the Honor 20 Pro worth a punt? Well, to be honest, it is a solid all-round smartphone. Definitely a strong rival to the likes of the OnePlus 7, the Zenfone 6 and other handsets that cost around $500. That rear snapper is one of the best you'll find on a smartphone, even comparing well against premium flagships that are twice the price of the Honor 20 Pro. And there are very few drawbacks to this handset as well. It might not be sex on legs like some devices out there, might have any snazzy gimmicks like a flip out camera or anything like that, but you know what? It is great value for that money, and if you're tempted to jump onto the Honor brand, then I'd say definitely give it a go. So that's what I think right now of the Honor 20 Pro, 2 months after the original launch, now that it's finally hitting the UK. But what do you think? Definitely be great to hear your thoughts down below. If you're not tempted by the Honor 20 Pro, why not, and what would you buy instead? And don't forget to poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech. Thanks everyone, love you!